Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Gray, and this is the part two of my predictions for the Winds of Winter by George R. R. Martin in the Game of Thrones slash A Song of Fire and Ice saga. Like I said before, if you don't want predictions, haven't read all the books, don't like hearing crazy theories, then don't watch this. Okay? Just click off. All right. So basically, we're up to Sam training to be a maester. Winterfell has turned over to Stannis. Meereen has turned over to Dany, and Jon is still warging back and forth between the ghost and his coma body or dead body or whatever it is. Okay. So Sam is training to be a maester, and he becomes friends with the Sphinx and some of the other people in Old Town. Together, they are finding out slowly the secrets of the maesters. And I think I'm going to talk about this a lot more in another video because I think the maesters are something people gloss over. I think that their agenda and their conspiracy and their thoughts and their beliefs are hidden. Now, I don't think every maester believes all these things 100%, but kind of the way that they're taught is a very specific way. Okay, so the two things I think is important to understand with the maesters is we all know that they helped kill off the dragons. We don't know how they did it. We know there's a book, underneath the Citadel about the death of dragons, the life and death of dragons. And they also know that there's books about all these lineages of all the great houses, which is kind of funky too. The third thing we know about the Maesters from a lot of chapters is that they're involved in what's called Southern ambitions in the North. But basically in intermarrying a lot of these families and in trying to get these alliances formed, which is very strange as well. All right. So why are they doing all this? What are they doing? Well, I think that basically the Maesters hate magic, and they hate magic because they believe in science. So they'll do anything to destroy the magic in the universe, basically. And so one way is to kill the dragons, which we know that they had a part in. Okay, we don't know exactly how deep or how they did it because we haven't got the hands of that book yet, but we know that they did. Okay, and secondly, I don't think that many people have really said this. I think they're actively trying to breed out the magic lines. Okay, we know the Targaryens, some of which can see the future. We know that they were able to bind magic to dragons somehow. We don't know exactly how, but they were able to. And we know that they are able to hatch dragon eggs, which is kind of crazy, right? Or they think they can, right? Aegon the Unlikely tried to, and Dany was able to, right? We also know that the Starks and the Reeds and other northern men have warging abilities. In addition, they have greenseer abilities, which is kind of interesting too, right? That's kind of weird, right? So these are powerful genetic markers, basically. So what ends up happening is the Maesters are trying to get rid of some of these, and so they're actually trying to not only create wars where dragons die and things like that, and some of these houses start dying off, but in addition to that, and more importantly, they're actually trying to breed out some of these skills, and I think that's why you see the Starks marrying the Tullys instead of other noble northern lords, and the Maesters trying to convince this. I'll do something longer on that. Anyway, so you have Jaqen, you have Sam, and you have the Sphinx. I think the key here is that much as the others want balance, so do the Faceless Men. One of the things that Jaqen tells Arya Stark is that when she saves them, basically 3 deaths are owed, right? 3 deaths are owed to the gods. So the Faceless Men want balance too, and they believe in death, and they revere death in kind of a weird religious way. So to them, the others would probably seem like a pretty good idea, kind of like allies. They even worship kind of the great other, okay? So I think that they want to kill the dragons. I think that they want to kill Dany. I think they want to kill Stannis. And I think that they want to have balance, right? And the others will bring balance to the kingdoms of men, basically. I think Sam and the Sphinx, who is actually one of the Sand Snakes, it's the Red Viper's second oldest daughter, I think. Anyway, one of his older daughters. Find out about this. I think they're able to stop Jaqen. I think they're able to kill Jaqen. I don't know how, but they're able to kill him. And but they know that they need the dragons to defeat the others. They know that they need all the allies to defeat the others, and they don't believe in the same death kind of religion. So I think the Sphinx and Sam go to Warren. Stannis/Jon and Dany. But I think that they actually switch positions. I think Sam goes to warn Dany, and the Sphinx goes to warn Stannis/Jon. And the reason for, I think this is because in the north they would notice who Sam is, and in the south they would notice who the Sphinx is, right? Because people can recognize her. Shh, don't tell anyone. So that's what basically I think happens there. So Sam goes off to find Dany. Sphinx goes up to find Jon/Stannis. Okay. Jon is still in his coma, spends a lot of time in Ghost. You see several chapters from Ghost's position, I believe. And he has visions of the dragons and the others and that kind of stuff. Melisandre keeps trying to resurrect him. His body's alive, but he's not going to his bodies, and she doesn't know why. That's because he's in Ghost. Okay. Meanwhile, the wildlings / the Stannis' men that are on the wall team up, kill the Night's Watch, and basically that's the end of the Night's Watch. They decide to ride out to save the wildlings that are beyond the wall, some of which are their kinfolk, right? And that's basically what's happening in the wall. In Meereen, Tyrion, Victarion meet Dany. Tyrion tells her of Aegon and kind of what's going on in the West as best as he knows, while Victarion wants her to marry him. There's a lot of people that think that Victarion is the second prophecy. You know, we have the first one is all the different mounts, all the different fires, all the different. And the first one has to go obviously with her riding with the Khalasar and that kind of stuff. But the second one we don't know. A lot of people think it's him, that he's the one to dread, right? But in my opinion, it's actually the Harpy. But either one could be correct. Okay. So anyway, they try to control the dragons. Victarion ends up blowing his horn, and the Red Priest that's on his ship kills him, believing that Dany is Azor Ahai. And I think Dany, in kind of a reversage of kind of conquistadors, actually burns Meereen and uses all the ships in the harbor to sell to Westeros. So basically, she's burning the city. And I think that's, in my opinion, the Harpy. She burns him. That's the second part of the prophecy. And she lights a fire for death, and that's the fire for death, basically. Okay. But she's got enough ships now to where whoever's left, I think she can take her Unsullied in troops and whoever else is there with her. Okay. Arya Stark is finally given her commission, and her commission is to kill Dany. And the reason for that is the Faceless Women believe in death, and they don't want her and her dragons to defeat the others. They want a balance of a lot of deaths, basically. So that'll be her commission. Cersei hates being in Highgarden, so Tyrells basically keep fighting. She goes to King's Landing to convince Aegon to let her children live, basically. Okay. I think at that stage, Bran sees back in time. He can see the children of the forest. He ends up in the weirwood in Winterfell and sees Jon as a baby with Ned and Benjen. And Ned and Benjen are talking about the baby's future. And Benjen agrees to join the Night's Watch, so when the baby comes of age, I won't say which baby it is, but it's Jon, he can join the Night's Watch. I think what happened is that was the plan all along. Benjen went to the Night's Watch to protect Jon later, but they didn't think it was going to happen so early. They didn't think Robert was going to, of course, come north and ask Ned to be the head of the king. So the plan all along was to have Jon join the Night's Watch, but, you know, when he's 20 or 21 or even 18, right? But I think we also see them burying Lyanna, bringing Lyanna's body back, that kind of stuff. Okay. With Aegon on the Iron Throne, Littlefinger, we all know that there's a very controversial Sansa chapter. So Littlefinger sees an opportunity and wants Sasha Stark to marry him, marry Aegon. So they go frantically to King's Landing and swear the new king their fealty, revealing who she is, right? This is when, instead of backing Littlefinger, okay, she tells Aegon of all of Littlefinger's misgivings, and betrays him. As much as you could betray, I guess Littlefinger has betrayed everyone. Aegon puts him to death and decides he's going to marry Sasha and the Tommen's sister, too. He believes, like Rogar, that he can marry more than one woman, two women. Okay? Saying that the dragon has 3 heads. And basically, this will get the Lannisters on your side and the North on your side, is what he thinks. Okay. Meanwhile, Cersei is coming back into King's Landing. And there's going to be a 3-way royal wedding, basically. And they're all captured. Okay. And I think the beginning of that wedding actually happens in the next book. But if it happens in this book, basically, Sasha is a controversial book, right? And we all know that someone younger and more beautiful is supposed to take everything away from Cersei. So we'll see what happens. At that stage, Jaime Brion and Howland Reed end up going back to Winterfell, where Stannis has already left to kill the rest of the Boltons. He's going to the Dreadfort to take care of the rest of the Boltons. And then there's basically a scene with them all in Winterfell discussing things and doing things. Back in the Wall, all the wildlings are desperately trying to get south of the Wall. I think Bran brings down the Wall, and he does this because he's not quite doesn't know his powers. So he wants those people to be free, but the others are right behind them. So he brings down the Wall with the others behind him. And then at this stage, Jon wakes up. Other things happening at this time, I think the Dornish are involved. They come back up. They're trying to marry Aegon to their heir, the daughter. And so there's a lot of other things happening there. I think Aegon ends up marrying Sasha Stark, actually. She ends up being queen, and messes up Cersei, basically. But I think that's basically how the book ends. I think the Wall, not the entire Wall, but large portions of the Wall come down at the end. And that's the end of that. So anyway, write your comments below. And thanks for everyone for listening. And have a good day.